Joining me right now is Oklahoma Senator and member of the Senate Armed Services and Environment and Public Works Committee, Markwayne Mullin. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. How do you think this plays out? And give us your sense of the president's decision to send these 1,500 troops to the border.
Well, it's a little too late, but what the administration is doing is posturing, because they know when they end Title 42, which is the last Trump-era immigration policy, there's going to be a flood of immigrants coming across. Keep in mind, Title 42 is where we can apprehend single, meaning male individuals traveling by themselves, and detain them for up to 3 days before we deport them. Underneath Title 42, we have captured 60-plus known terrorists. If without Title 42, they would be inside the United States operating right now. Because of the flood of immigrants, which were going to be single males flooding across the border after Title 42 ends in just 8 days, they think the answer is now let's deploy 1,500 troops, which just shows the hypocrisy of our czar, border czar, Vice President Harris. By now it's okay to deploy them. But I'm glad they're doing something. But why don't we do both? Why don't we deploy the troops and keep Title 42 in place, and then do one more thing: finish building the wall and secure our borders. That's really not that hard, but it is for an administration that's agenda-driven, not America First-driven.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, we're going to continue to fight against this policy. Of course, we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back, because Chuck Schumer is obviously still leading the Senate. Luckily, we have Kevin McCarthy as Speaker of the House, and they are fighting as hard as they can as Republicans in the House. But we've got to try to do all we can to show to the American people how disastrous this policy is, and they've got to demand that Chuck Schumer brings this to the floor and puts it on the desk to the president, keeping Title 42 in place and secure our border for national security purposes. This isn't about immigration. This is about national security issues. When I say that we've captured over 60 known terrorists because of Title 42, that alone would tell you how important Title 42 is to keep in place for national security issues.
Of course. And it's not even that. It's that you've got terrorists on the watch list. You've got illicit narcotics and fentanyl coming in. You also have, by the way, Chinese nationals coming in, up 900% year over year.
Right.
And I'm told by my sources at the border that these people are largely engineers. Why are engineers from China coming in at such high levels?
Well, keep in mind, the fentanyl issue is coming from China, too. It's not just the cartels, but the ingredients that the cartels are making fentanyl is coming in from China. China is flooding our borders. I would say most of these individuals aren't trying to get here to live the American dream. If they did, engineers are a need, and we would be happy to bring them in if they want to become national citizens. When you start talking about the border, though, we've had over 160 countries of individuals that have been apprehended. I guess individuals from 160 countries that have been apprehended. Right. A large portion of those would be from the Middle East. Keep in mind, the people from the Middle East, they're not always friendly to the United States, too, which is where a lot of our known terrorists have come from. So we have the Chinese nationalists that's flooding our border. We have the Middle East that's flooding our border, and they're exposing the weakness of our national security on the southern border, and the administration is turning a blind eye to it.
And by the way, I said that the number of Chinese nationals coming in 900%. It's actually up 1,100%. The numbers are extraordinary. Meanwhile, it's up 1,172% year over year. Chinese nationals at the southern border. We don't know why there's such a spike in people coming from China here. They don't need to come through the southern border through Mexico, and they're making this trip through the Panama Canal and the Darien Gap. Let me get your take on the priority of this administration in the face of this. It's the climate change agenda. That's what the priority is, no matter what's going on at the border, no matter what's going on with inflation, with crime. Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm is pushing the administration's green agenda on the U.S. military now. She said this during a Senate Armed Services Committee hearing last week. Watch what she said here.
Do you support the military adopting that EV fleet by 2030?
I do, and I think we can get there as well. And I do think that reducing our reliance on the volatility of globally traded fossil fuels, where we know that global events such as the war in Ukraine can jack up prices for people back home. I think energy security is achieved when we have homegrown clean energy.
So, Senator, you've got to explain this to me, because we're talking about relying on overseas, right? And she's telling us she wants to get away from that. Is it not true that if we go and do electric vehicles in the military, we're relying on China? Because the batteries and so much of this climate agenda is made in China. Here we are having a conversation on a national level about getting supply chains out of China, and yet this climate change agenda is sending all of the business to China. You're a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee. Your thoughts?
Well, you can't explain, Maria, stupidity, and that's what this administration is. They've hired incompetent individuals that doesn't understand even simple battlefield issues, such as how are we going to charge these EV vehicles in the middle of a conflict. There's not exactly charging stations in the middle of a battlefield. You're going to be towing big gasoline, diesel-powered generators behind EV vehicles to charge the vehicles that's in front of them. When you start talking about batteries, we don't have the rare earth minerals inside the, well, we actually do, but because of the EPA and the environmentalists, we can't mine them. We have to rely on China for those rare earth minerals. Keep in mind, out of the 5 largest deposits in the world of rare earth minerals where the batteries are made, China controls 4 of them, Russia controls the other one. We will be 100% dependent on our adversaries if we go total electric. And it's just asinine when you start thinking about this administration and putting woke agenda, green agenda in front of us. And think about when she says homegrown clean energy, we have homegrown fossil fuels. We could be 100% energy independent. We wouldn't have to be blaming Russia on high energy prices because we could control our own energy crisis right here. You start talking about the feds raising hikes, trying to stem inflation. You start thinking about inflation be stemmed if we could just control energy costs ourselves. It's just this administration makes horrible decisions for a military, which should be a place through peace, through strength, meaning that our adversaries should fear us, not laugh at us, which is what they're doing when we talk about going to EV vehicles. And we should be able to control our own economy because we produce our own energy. But they don't see that. They're blinded by their woke green energy movement that is pandering to the far left that doesn't understand basic principles.
Yeah, really concerning, Senator. We're going to be watching your work. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, sir.
Maria, thank you so much.